What's up, guys? So this is the Manga Punk channel. So in this video, we're with Nairda. Am I saying correctly? Nairda, right?
Yep, you got it. You got it.
All right, Nairda. So in this video, Nairda is gonna share with us his process of, making a manga page. So this video is he sent me a recording, and it's 1 hour long, and we'll go through it. We'll go through the process. I'll also ask him a few questions in between, but yeah, it's gonna be easy to follow, and we won't press pause because we're like on a 1 through 3 like go system. So we're gonna play the video at the same time, so we can both follow each other. So did you load the video yet? Because I'm about to.
Yep, I'm already on my end.
Okay, so when I say go, we can press start. So 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so the first thing I noticed is that you use 3D assets.
Yeah,
So
it does stick out the most. Yeah.
yeah, so explain me about the 3 assets. How does it, not how does it work, but you place everything yourself? Do you do the models? Do you find some assets online, or like how is it?
Yeah. So this is all in Blender. I did make all of the assets. It really is just, doing some research of simple Blender things. It's really like 3%. You don't need to learn a whole lot, but just a few simple shortcuts or whatnot. You can really just make whatever you want in Blender. Since the environment for this scene
Yeah.
is very specific, I didn't want to use any sort of pre-made asset, so I was like, yeah, I'll just kind of figure it out and make it myself.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a lot of mileage out of it.
Yeah.
So
I feel like the assets are pretty simple to do. I don't know, for people who have never done like 3D like assets for models, but these ones, the ones you made, I can see are pretty simple shapes, so they seem pretty easy to do it. True. So like the chair, the table, and I see the machine behind, like I think the coffee machine, the sink, and everything. It's pretty simple to do. So yeah, I can see where you get from. And also there's also like some simple assets you can download like this, but yeah, you can do them yourself, which is pretty good. Right now
Yeah.
and I assume like I assume that you do the 3D assets yourself, like these assets, and then you add the extra details. How can I say, like, you make it look better, because these shapes are pretty simple, but when I see your page, it doesn't look like that. It looks like much better. So I assume like you do the shapes, the base shapes, then you add the details to make it look like made better,
yeah, you're 100% right.
Okay. And right now you're doing the sketches. So what's your process behind the sketch? Do you do, like, right now I see that you do very simplistic shapes, then you're adding the hair, then okay, so what you did right now, so you do the pretty simplistic shapes, then you do the line art over it, is that correct?
Yeah, generally I'll rough out the base, and then I'll kind of go over that with the details of the actual character. Sometimes it can vary how I'll go about it. I'm very like feel it out kind of with my art. Like if I'm feeling a bit more confident, I'll kind of just go right at it from the start. Or if I'm like I'm kind of doing, especially in this shot, since it's a bit more of a not typical angle you would have a character at, I really wanted to kind of take the step by step to figure how they would look appropriately in this shot. So that's why I went with the base and then putting the details on top of it. I used to use 3D models in order to figure that out for myself, but I realized I was kind of using the models as a crutch.
Yeah.
And I would start to really just essentially draw over a 3D model with details, and
That-
it became very
yeah.
like noticeable, and I started not liking it.
Yeah, that's the thing I also noticed with 3D models. It depends of, everyone has their own style, but what I noticed personally is that, yeah, we tend to like kind of draw over it, or like the thing with 3D models, it's good as a reference, meaning like like, that's my personal opinion at least. Like, it's good to like keep like put side by side maybe, but just as a reference side by side. Like if you start drawing over it, I feel like the poses are really stiff. That's the thing with 3D models, they're precise, but they feel really very stiff depending on how you draw. Like especially if you do it like perfectly over it. That's also why like pictures. Also why I prefer picture references in general. Either like pictures, like you know, like you can find into like models or whatever, or scenes from like videos or movies or shows, because they're actually more like vibrant. They're actually more alive. Like there's actually like some motion behind it, and unlike 3D models, they seem frozen, like frozen statues. Doesn't feel like there's movement, and you know you need good movement to convey the characters. But it depends. It also depends of the models, 3D models, because there are some that are like more stationary. For example, if there's a 3D model of sitting, I guess it would be okay, but even then it still feels stiff. Like how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at manga, even if you look at some of the like heavy hitters when it comes to artists, they aren't necessarily drawing like one-to-one, like, yeah, that's exactly what that head would look like from that angle. Like, no, if you really scrutinize it, they did kind of draw a bit of a wonky head, but it still looks great. It looks like a nice drawing that they made. And you realize, you know, when you're kind of going through it yourself, you have to kind of realize, like, you're not trying to make something look exactly how it should look. You're trying to make something that looks nice, that looks good to look at. So if it is a bit like, you know, a hand wouldn't look like that from that angle. Does it look cool in the drawing? Yeah, well then keep it. So that's kind of the approach I've begun to take. So that's why, even if it might be, because again, this is a bit of a weird angle that I am drawing right now, especially with having Cheryl's kind of arms overlap each other. You could even kind of scrutinize like where her elbow is placed. Like, man, she must have a really long like bicep from that angle. But it looks good. I think this pose looks good, and it's like pushing and expressing her like character and emotion in this scene right now. And if that is being accomplished, then keep it, man. You know, don't overcorrect.
I totally agree with that. So that's also like a key, is to make it look not, let's say, realistic, but convincing, like credible enough. As long as it looks good, it's enough. Like even if, you know, the proportions or it might look off, but if it feels good, it means that it is good. Also, I was about to say something about because you brought up, like, you know, manga artists and their movement and everything, and that's the thing too. Like when you make a movement, it shouldn't be it should be a little more like exaggerated in some sense, like either the movement or maybe the expressions, you know, like just the smile of your character Cheryl, right? Like it looks like comfy, she's looking at the other character, like it's not the kind of smile you would actually see in the, you know, let's say more realistic picture or something. What I'm trying to say is like you must really try to capture the emotion on the person's face. You got to be a bit more convincing than a picture, let's say like a realistic picture or something. Like even in movies, you have to like convey emotion a bit more than, let's say, in real life. You have to express it more. Same for movement. You know, if like let's say you're giving a, you know, like just in like let's say One Piece, right? They give like, you give a punch. It's not like a normal punch. You have to go all the way. Yeah, you know, it has to be like the movement, the movement of the arm, the body. Like it has to be twisted. Like you have to go like 100%. You have to go more, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know, there's no reason to really scrutinize why, you know, how something should look, especially with art. I mean, art is so, you know, there's no rules. There's no limits. So make something that is really, you know, make a good picture, especially with manga and comics. My kind of philosophy has started developing to like make each panel look like a cool picture.
Exactly.
Obviously the panels are supposed to be read like from panel 1 to panel 2 to panel 3, but if you can make each panel just look like a nice picture, even if it's just a close-up of a character, there's no background, make it like a nice close-up, and then move on to the next picture, try to make that look nice. And I've found when I think about it like that, I end up enjoying the page I made way more, because I'm sure every comic artist, manga artist, all feels the same way of finishing a page and then just looking at it and being like, oh, it sucks.
Yeah.
But changing my mindset with it has definitely helped me accept it and then move on to the next page I need to make.
Yeah, exactly. Because you also have to see your work as a whole, not just as a singular page or singularity. You must see the work as a whole. And that's also, it's also good, like, to see from the perspective of other people, because it's always what happens. People see your art in general and they like, oh, it looks good and it's nice, and they actually mean it. And you're always that's the artist like complex, right? You look at your art and it's like, no, but this is missing, this is lacking, and I feel like, although it might be valid, we must also look at the valid good points. Like, we should also focus on what we did well. I noticed, like, people, we tend to notice like quickly and too much what doesn't work, which is normal. We want to improve, but we must also take time to notice what we did well. Like right now, I like the position of the position of a character. You added the fold and everything, the line, like, those like fold lines and lines on the hair, like the extra lines. I like how you did this. Like, how do you go through this? Like, what's your idea when you do those lines, like, folding lines and details?
I initially, when my art journey, I would take a much more sort of, I wouldn't say realism, but detail, I guess, oriented approach to my art. So I spent a lot of time, really understanding like folding and clothing and like, anatomy, and I mean, all the basic stuff that you're always sort of told you should really spend a lot of time understanding. And then as time has gone on, I've realized not that I don't enjoy detailed work, but it's not where I should be heading. And since you can clearly tell with my characters, they're all very cartoonish, right?
Yeah.
So I don't need to go all in with detail, but I have still always loved, the feeling you can get when you see some like really well detailed pants or a hoodie, and you see all those folds. It's like, oh man, that hoodie, it feels like it's real.
Yeah.
So it really is just like, I've been drawing for a good chunk amount of time. I think like 8 years at this point. And since the beginning, I started with, I want to do folds. So that's kind of why I do it like that.
Yeah. I noticed, like, by the way, that's also what I find, like, what I like about your work. So it's like your characters, they have cute faces, pretty simple faces, right? But the clothes they're wearing, everything is so detailed. So I like the contrast about that too. Like, you can perfectly balance the more like manga comic aspect and the realistic or semi-realistic aspect of it, and it really brings life to your characters. Oh, by the way, I forgot to like introduce your work. So his manga is called Speak No Evil. And do you want to talk about it more, like explain the story or something you want to talk about?
Yeah, sure. So Speak No Evil is the story of Rennie Becker, who is a white rabbit, and everything about him in relation to the world he's in is relatively normal, except that he has no mouth. So he can't speak, he can't eat, right? Which is weird. How doesn't he eat? But the story is following him getting a new job at a coffee shop, and what happens when he, starts to actually connect with people, even with this barrier in the way of connecting. And what potential dangers might come with that.
Yeah.
So we're at about 7 chapters. That 7th chapter really kind of switched things up. So yeah.
So also, but would you say that, you know, Rennie's character, would you say that he's sort of a relatable character to you? What I mean is, like, is there like any personal experiences or emotions that find their ways into your stories? And do you think that is?
I think definitely, but I also think it's pretty relatable to a lot of us. And I would say, like with Rennie, just difficulty with social interaction. Sometimes it can be a bit difficult to find a way to sort of introduce yourself to society and interacting with others. And Rennie is a character that, you know, it's not about an anxiety he might have. It is quite literally a wall that has been placed in front of him, being able to communicate and connect with other people.
Yeah.
So I definitely relate with that. I have obviously been able to overcome a lot of those issues as time has gone on, but he is definitely a character that is a sort of expression of that part of myself.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're in an interview right now, so it just shows, yeah, you actually did like overcome some stuff, you know, so which is good.
For sure.
Yeah. Also, there's also a lot of interesting characters in your story that I really like. My favorite so far, I forgot his name, but it's his koala friend. What's his name again?
Taylor Simons.
Taylor, yeah, because I like how he's like, he's a good support character, you know, like he's there for Rennie, you know, he helps him with, you know, the job and everything. Like he you can tell that he's supportive and understanding of his situation. And I wanted to bring that up with the next question. So when creating characters, like, do you draw from people in your life, or are they like entirely fictional? Like, what's the most challenging aspect of character creation as well for you?
I would say it's a bit of a combination of both. I will generally approach a character first as a design.
Okay.
You know, because when I first drew Rennie, my approach to it was, what is a design that I would enjoy drawing like a million times, right? If I'm gonna make him my main character, I need to really love drawing this guy.
Yeah.
And that is generally the approach for every other character as well. I mean, I'll say right now on screen with Cheryl,
Yeah.
it's pretty obvious with Cheryl's hairstyle that I just like Chun-Li.
Yeah.
So I just gave her Chun-Li's hair buns because I really like that hairstyle and drawing that hair. So I just gave it to her.
Yeah.
And then
I can also
tell
that you enjoy drawing her just by looking at it. I can tell you enjoy drawing her.
Yeah, she's a favorite of mine.
Yeah, but keep going. Yeah.
Her personality and all that sort of came afterward, right? You know, that's when and it will kind of make a pathway for me. So since I gave her a sort of a you know, her Chun-Li's hairstyle, it's like, okay, so she would probably be a bit of a happy girl, right? Like, you know, happy-go-lucky, and that sort of gave me the direction to head towards with her character. And that's pretty much the same for every character after that. So I do approach it with, I draw it, you know, it's like, what's something cool I want to draw right now? I'll draw that, and then I'm like, okay, this is what they look like. How do they act? I figure that out. And yeah.
That's cool. So, what's the name of this character again?
That I'm drawing right now?
Yeah.
So this is Amika Moreno.
Amika Moreno. I just don't know what type of, like, what animal is she actually? I never I think you wrote it down.
She's a hamster.
Hamster. Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you saw her with color, it would be much more apparent.
Okay.
But yeah, she is a hamster. You're good though. I've had a lot of people like, what animal is Amika?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, she's a hamster. She's a
Yeah,
hamster.
because I read your work and I'm like, maybe he wrote it somewhere. I just didn't pay attention or anything. Because yeah, you also, by the way, you're pretty like diligent about your work. You're actually like putting work. You have 7 chapters so far. That's incredible, and you're doing everything by yourself in a span of.
Yeah. Yeah, the artwork is all me. And I do, I have had the story planned out for quite some time now, but
I
any sort
see.
of edits, I'll actually have I'll talk with my girlfriend, and she'll actually give, because she's really the only person who knows like all the details of everything I have going into this story. So anytime I'll have things sort of figured out and planned out and I sketch it out, I'll talk with her a little bit. She'll give me her thoughts. It'll sort of clear some things up. Maybe I was fuzzy on. We'll throw that in. And that pretty much is the whole process. But in terms of art, yeah, it is completely me.
Okay, that's cool. So basically, you do either you write a script or do a storyboard, then you show her. Is that it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, that's why the story is so well built, because I don't know if you've done any work before Speak No Evil, like any like comic or manga work, but usually a lot of people, they tend to do their first work. Their first work is supposed to be like the be all, like be it all of it all. So they do a chapter or something, and it's so messy, or either in the story or art direction or paneling and something, and they end up restarting their work. But it seems that you have experience, like you keep going in the right direction. I don't feel like you need to restart anything. I'm actually following the story, but when I see when I check into your account and your work, it's like he never published anything before, which is impressive, because usually people, but you said you've been drawing for 8 years, but usually people, they tend to like, especially amateurs or independent people, right? They start right away like, oh, I'm gonna do like the next big like manga or comic, and they do their first work, they never check themselves, and they end up having, most of them end up redoing their work. I also did the same, when I was younger. I did the manga and everything, and for me it looked good, it looked like perfect, but after years of like rechecking my work, I'm like, oh, I might want to redo this chapter, I might want to redo this character, I might want to redo this. So how do you make sure like that everything is like perfect, where you don't have to redo things? I know that you said you checked with your girlfriend and everything, but is there anything else you would actually add about that?
I really do think it is about subduing the perfectionism, right? Like I was telling you earlier with the volumes that I've been like sort of figuring out. Even though the most recent I had printed out isn't perfect, I just accept it, because I think, when people are talking about, yeah, I'm gonna make the next big manga, you need you need some miles under you. You're not gonna make chapter 1 of your manga and then boom, it's huge. Because let's say you did get that right. Let's say you made your first chapter and everyone was like, dude, this is amazing, we love this. When's the next one? Oh, I'm working on it. And then you make that next one. Oh, when's the next one?
Yeah.
Right? Like you need to keep making it. So realistically, you're gonna want to have quite a bit of story under your belt before you potentially have any kind of eyes on your thing. And if you're going into it with that mindset, you're gonna have a rough time. So with Speak No Evil, for me, my mindset, because you're right, I don't have any prior thing that I've made. This is the first sort of comic I'm making, and I do fully intend for Speak No Evil to be like very long. Like everything we're going over right now is, I would arguably say, is almost a pre-log.
Oh, I'm glad so far. Like
the story,
I'm enjoying the story so far. So I'm glad if it's gonna be long. Like what do we have right now? I'm glad. So keep going.
So my mindset with Speak No Evil is, I am enjoying making. Right, I'm enjoying drawing. I'm enjoying figuring it out. I mean, like I said earlier, with Blender, with making my own assets, I wasn't doing that with chapter 1. You know, I wasn't as experienced with Blender. But as time has gone on and you keep that open mind, you're like, I want to do something. How can I do it? And it's like, okay, well, maybe if I start looking over here, I can kind of figure something out, bring it back, and sort of recontextualize it to use it in your work. And every time you do that, you'll be happy with it, and you'll have grown. And then you're gonna look back and realize, man, I've come so far from where I'm at. But after that, you're gonna just grow even further, because you're gonna keep going, you're gonna make more. And now 5 years down the road, you're gonna look back and be like, man, I've grown from that point. So it really is just about, why are you making it? You know, it's like Oda, right?
Yeah.
Like Oda is like the king of like mindset when it comes to making his work. Like, he just loves it. He can't get enough of this world he's made and the characters, and that is what has fully sustained. Because you also hear about certain authors beginning to resent their work, right? Because it starts to morph into something that they are just not even enjoying anymore.
I agree.
But with Oda, since day one, he's like, God, I love this. God, I love drawing this in this world. I can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. I totally agree. You can tell who loves their work and who doesn't, or you can also tell who does it out of passion and who does it like for business reasons, or they are forced into like doing something they don't really want to do. Like,
if you're making a manga for business reasons, there is much better things you could be doing to make money.
Oh, I agree.
I promise.
I agree. Especially in art, like, what are you doing if it's for the money first? You know, especially like,
yeah,
you could be doing so many things instead of like wasting your time and other people's
making much
money.
more money.
Exactly. So you'll be aware. That's why you always have to do something out of passion. And you know, that's why even though we aren't published, or we aren't working under someone, or you know, we're doing this anyway. You know, we're not waiting after someone to do what we want to do and tell the stories we want to tell. You know, and that's good, because we tell the stories, and if it gets picked up, it gets picked up. But if it doesn't, we'll keep telling the story anyway, because it's for us first of all. We do want to share the story, but it's also for us to enjoy. So that's what I respect about like most of independent artists. You know, regardless of if they end up being picked or not, they keep going. You know, because they are passionate about it, and you know, hopefully they get support out of it, and you know, they find like the good deals or the good opportunities to keep going. But
absolutely, and you know, people will notice. You know, when you're really going at it, and you start getting those, you know, that portfolio under your belt, they'll notice for sure. I mean, you know, if you're just going about your business and you find out about the independent comic or manga author who's been working on their work for 10 years, I mean, that's an immediate hook. I don't know about you, but if I hear that about anything, I'm like, wow, 10 years? I'm kind of interested to check out. What have you been working on, man?
Mm-hmm.
So it will come to anyone. You know, you just gotta love it. You just gotta love what you're making.
Exactly. I agree. You gotta love what you're making. And you know, you must also, how can I say, you must also be inspired. You know, you keep that like optimism, because you won't have, let's say, quick results. It may happen, but don't sit there expecting like, I just finished like this illustration or this chapter and bam, right away it's gonna be a hit, it's gonna be viral. Actually, I wouldn't really recommend like anyone being viral right away. You know, like let's say you do a chapter or you do something and it hits right away. I usually tend to doubt these things, because it's like the internet, like let's say Instagram or TikTok. Like, yeah, there are some people, okay, they get viral, they get their 5 minutes of fame, right? But because of the fact that they got viral right away, they don't know how to handle the fame. They don't know how to handle like the good and the bad, the repercussions, right? So when they get viral, they try like to do some recapture the moment and do some stuff like to keep the audience entertained, but they get forgotten 1 week after. Compared to people, you can, like on accounts, they do tons of videos, so they don't just get one viral hit. They tend to get like multiple viral hits, or at least a decent amount of views or content. and they keep that level of like stability, right? So that's the thing when you get viral right now, like people want to be like the thing right now, but it's like, okay, but can you handle it, right? Because you have no experience, like you don't have a solid structure. And that's what I noticed with your work. Like, yeah, you're not viral, but I'm looking at your work, it's solid, man. And in the years to come, it's definitely gonna be an advantage for you, because like you said, you've been drawing for more than 8 years, and you don't have prior work, but all the experience you're using it right now, and it's more valuable than if you did something and you went viral right away, and it's like you don't even know how to handle like the level of attention, and then you just do one thing bad and people will turn on you, and it's a lot of things. So it's good right now that like you're quite under the radar, because when you're gonna catch up, because you will definitely, I'm looking at you will, so then you'll have like already have like so much chapters done, so much experience done, so you'll be able to like maintain that level of attention, without like people turning on you the moment you do something bad, or well, even if people turn, right? But you know what I mean, you'll keep that stability, right? And that confidence in your work, like, because you won't depend on that's the thing too, you won't depend on people's attention, because you know about your work, and you never did that for like the attention in the first place. Like, yeah, you want to be seen, you want to be like recognized and everything, but it's for you first and foremost, and that's what I noticed about your work.
Yeah, for sure. Fame it's not forever. It's not even something that you should necessarily put much value into. I mean, the most value I would take from fame would be more people seeing my stuff. That's ultimately what I care about the most. I mean, we all care about having enough money to sustain yourself and support your family, absolutely.
Totally.
Beyond that, it, for me at least, it really is just about, I just want people to see it.
Same.
Even if you don't care for it, or if it's like, it's not really my thing, like, oh well, thanks for checking it out. That's all I really ultimately want. So, and as you said, that'll only happen if you have something to show. I'm nowhere near the point. I mean, it's so funny to me, because like I said earlier, I have quite the plan for Speak No Evil, and the core of what the story will be, we are still so far. I mean, I'm saying like 3 years, maybe.
Ooh.
3 years from what it will actually be, right? And the only way we'll get there is if I'm making it, is if I'm drawing it. So I don't think about, oh, how can I get Speak No Evil more popular? How can I get Rennie into this? How can I do? It's like, that isn't important, because even if I did get that, people will be like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, man, and then they move on.
I agree.
Because that's just how it is. That's just how people are. That's not something to be upset at. That just is how it is. I mean, whenever I was talking with my girlfriend actually the other day about the history of like really big anime in the West, and it's like there were those staples, and it was like that first resurgence, I believe it was like Attack on Titan. That was the one where it was like, oh whoa, and then after that I think was One Punch Man.
Yeah.
And then I think after One Punch Man was maybe My Hero.
Yeah, your moments. Yeah, it was.
Right? And then after My Hero, I want to say
I don't know.
Demon Slayer?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, it was Demon Slayer.
And then after Demon Slayer,
there's always something.
I think is Jujutsu Kaisen, right?
Yes, sir.
But there's always that next thing.
Yeah.
And you realize that, and these series, they're great. They're great series. They got popular for a reason, because they connected with people, and that is totally valid. But even with that, right? Even with these heavy hitters, I'm saying, they were done, and the next guy came in. So you can't hyperfixate on that level of fame, because it's gonna go away. And when it is gone, what will you have? And if you really care about what you're making, you will have that, and you will have had it since you started. And if you got that, then you're unstoppable, man.
Like, yeah, exactly. Which also brings back to my point. So for these, for these mangakas, it's not like they were. I don't think so that they were trying, to go viral and anything. They just do their work and they cut attention, right? But that's the thing too. Like I said earlier, it's not about, you said like there are hits and people move on. There are hits, people move on. But there are also hits like One Piece, for example. People don't move on. So that's also why I'm saying like there's some, yeah, people want to be like a hit or like be the thing, right? But they cannot keep that consistency, and that's why people move on. Like, for like Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia, like you might still like it, but it wasn't enough for people to keep their attention for like more than one season or two, right? Unlike certain series, I do for Jujutsu Kaisen, there's like 2 seasons so far. Like manga is a different story. Right now, I'm talking about like the anime, right? But there are 2 seasons so far, and it has people's attention. We'll see for the rest, but my point is more like you must be able to keep that consistency. Like it's not over. It's not just because like you're one thing that you got that moment that you're set for life or anything. No, you gotta keep going. You're gonna keep doing your work, and it's much more important than being the thing right now. Because once again, going back to One Piece, when he started, it was a different time, era, and age. It wasn't like blowing in the West like that, but he wasn't as popular. Like it's the opposite actually. His popularity grew over the years with the experience, with what he learned, with what he put out, and like building. Like you said, you have like you have like 3 years of content, but that's probably the same thing for him, right? He had years and years of content, and even if it wasn't planned or anything, like just that keeping that consistency, building that world over years, like investing your time and work, it will just come back to you quicker, faster, right? So this is what I respect about his work. This is also what I respect about your work. I also notice it's the same with you, because I'm reading your chapters, right? And it starts like there's a pacing, right? It starts like slowly, but you're doing very well. Like you're introducing the characters, you're developing the relationships. Like I noticed, and in the back you're adding like some some mysteries, some dark stories, right? But I can tell right when I read your story, I can tell that there's a build up, and that's what I like about your story. Is you're not just like dumping a bunch of like, I don't know, like a bunch of crazy moments. Everything's like there's an elevation. Like and you're teaching us to be patient when we do. Like I'm a patient person, so it doesn't bother me, right? But it shows like the level of patience you have, like, and you said you were excited to show a lot of stuff, like you have 3 years and everything, and that's the thing too. Like some people, and I understand to a certain level, but some people they cannot help but to show and expose everything right away. And it's like, no, like be patient with yourself, be patient. Like people don't even know what's coming anyway, so there's no need to like expose everything and to go crazy and everything. But that's the funny thing with your story. I can tell that it's gonna take a direction. I don't know what direction, but I know that there's gonna be a turn somewhere someday, and I'm just waiting. I'm just there for it, man. I'm just there for it.
Thank you so much. I mean, I am definitely, it's hard. I mean, I completely get the people that are like, no, I want to talk about it right now. But when I started Speaking of Evil, I was like, I can't tell anyone these ideas, because if I tell them, I won't want to do it.
Same. I'm the same.
I got my reaction. And I'm like, yeah, thanks for telling me my idea was cool. It's like the level of cool you're gonna think when you've been reading the story until that point, and you're visually seeing it be like conveyed, is a whole other level of cool. And the only way to get to that is to make it. So I am able to like hold on to that, delayed gratification.
Yeah.
And know that when that time comes, it'll be like, oh, I'm so glad I did it this way. some form of catharsis or something. And that's the thing. That's the irony too, because you want to hold it in, right? But the fact that you want to hold it in, it also pushes you and motivates you to keep telling that story. Because like you said, if you have that release like too soon, right? You tell the story and you tell the plot twist, and it's just like you said, like, well, you're not going to be as motivated to draw and tell the story because you already told the people, right? So there's that sort of like minuscule release. So it's good that you're keeping it to yourself.
Also going back to your drawing, so I noticed, so you did the 3D models first, then you did the sketch. By the way, I noticed your sketch is, I'm a bit surprised that you do this phase, because when I saw you the early phase, right, I thought it was your actually like your final actual line art phase, because it looks so precise. And now I'm looking at it again. I'm when we were talking, right, but when it was turning blue, I'm like, huh? It's actually, it's like it's now he's about to do his line art. I was like, damn, I was surprised. So yeah, because you tell me about your process about the sketches, because it looks so good. And then you added that line art, so I'm like, okay, this guy is like, he's like a like precise person, right? Because
I'm really going at it, yeah.
for me it's a pass. Like the earlier phase, it's a pass, right? But just doing that extra phase, like, okay, this guy really wants to be like detail, and I noticed in your pages too, like your pages are, I was about to say, but your pages are so clean. So if you can like elaborate on it.
Absolutely. So the biggest reason that the initial sketches aren't the final is because I actually draw the page on a separate clip file, and that separate clip file is much smaller, right? Because if you're moving with something smaller, it makes it just manageable for yourself and for compositing. Not compositing, it's the wrong word. Composition. For your composition that you're going to create. Having it be smaller is just much, you're starting on a sketchbook instead of the giant easel, right? So I'll do that first, and then I will merge it all together, and then I'll bring it over to the actual proper, what is it, like the B4 specific kind of paper.
Yeah, the paper size.
Printing out. Yeah, exactly. So then I'll bring it over there, and since that initial file was too small, it makes the artwork blur, right, because of the anti-aliasing. So, and I'm not a fan of just converting the expression color to just monochrome and then messing with values. I don't like how that looks. So I'll just go over it, which is, relatively easy. I did, get the features out fairly detailed. So it really is just about going over it all over again, maybe adding some tweaks or some hatching here or there, but it pretty much is done. And then you'll see in a little bit, generally for the background, I will convert to monochrome, and then I'll just clean up certain things. Because it's more important to me that the characters look their best than the background. If the background has a bit of a grit to it, I kind of like that. I kind of like the bit of gritty, rough, real sort of vibe that the background might be giving off. But the characters, I do want them to look fairly nice and clean, all things considered. So
yeah,
but that's the biggest reason, because I will approach especially now after the nightmare I went through with the first volume, I do approach the pages with the mindset of I'm gonna want to print these one day.
Yes.
And when that day comes, I want everything to be in order. So that is another significant contributor to how I'll go about stuff. So yeah. Yeah,
that's amazing, because exactly like you said, I noticed also the backgrounds, they tend to be, well, not rough but gritty like you said, and the characters are like so detailed and clean, and that's cool because it also emphasizes on the characters, right? Because that's also what I noticed about your work. It really revolves around the characters, like personalities, interactions. It makes them look like I don't know if relatable is the right word, but it makes them look realistic. I would say like more convincing, more credible, like more like people. Like they're not humans, but more humanized in some sense, So that's also that's
exactly what I'm going for.
Yeah, that's also why I'm wondering what, because I'll be honest, man. I check your I see your Twitter, I see your IG. You're an amazing artist, man. You're crazy, like, because when I saw your work for the first time, I stumbled upon Speak No Evil on Manga Plus Creators by I don't know how, but I just stumbled upon it, and I'm just like, why this guy has like so little views? What's going on? Like, I'm just reading your work, like the art is solid, the story is solid. Like, what's going on? Like, I guess it's because it's more story driven right now, and more story and character driven. And in the age of today, like these days, it's more like those hype mangas with crazy fighting and all that stuff, like shonen, right? So I guess that's why you didn't get a lot of attention. But I'm like, yo, this is a hidden gem. Like, what's up? And I looked for your IG and your Twitter and everything, and I hit you up, right? So you already got my attention first. Like, you already got my attention with Speak No Evil, right? But then I go on your Twitter and I see your art, and I'm like, wow, okay, so this guy, I saw your art and it's like, this guy can draw. I saw you're like kind of like Hunter x Hunter fan art, or like Jujutsu, or like you can do fighting like style manga art, like those hype shonen. I'm just looking at your, like, guys, just go. I'll put the link on the description, but just look at his art, right? And like, okay, this guy, he knows how to draw. He chooses to draw this way, like draw this, like this like, let's say, like more laid back story for now at least. And like, nothing crazy going on. At least I don't know if it's gonna go crazy, but for now, like, there's nothing crazy going on. I'm just like, okay, this guy, like, he's choosing not to draw like crazy shonen with like no, because your drawings, like, you know how to draw fighting scenes and stuff. Like, you're good. You're just, guys, just go see his page and you'll know what I mean. But so that's why I'm asking, like, what pushes you to, first of all, go with animals, and also just go with that vibe, that art style. Because, man, if you wanted, you could do like some crazy shonen. I don't know what would be the story, but you could do some crazy shonen and just follow the hype. So this is also why I really respect you and your work, because you decided, like, no, like, I can't do that, but I don't have to do it. I'll go with my story. I'll do what I want to do. Like, I don't have to like follow the formula of like doing some crazy shonen or anything. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but it just fascinates to me that you chose to go in that lane, in that direction. So if you could elaborate on your art style and going with the animals and everything, right? Everything I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. So the animals is the story. It does contribute to the actual inception of Speak No Evil. So the creation of Speak No Evil was, I want to say at this point, it's been like 4 years back. I saw that RPG Maker 3 was on sale for like $2, and I was just bored that day, and I was like, maybe I'll try to mess around with that. Why not? So I buy it, I download it. I'm sort of getting a handle on the UI and how all the things work. Look up some tutorials and whatnot, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to figure it out. I'll make my protagonist, right, for my little game I'm gonna make. So I'm thinking about what I want the protagonist to look like, and one of the biggest my biggest struggles with art is figuring out how I want to draw human noses, right? Because especially with anime, I mean, there's characters that it's just a dot. There's characters where it's like a bit of a, there's a pointed nose. There's some where it's just the 2 nostrils. Like, there's a lot of ways that you can draw like a nose. And I mean, I love all of them. I love all the art. So it's like, man, how do I want to draw it though? So I was just thinking. I'm like, I don't know. I can't make a decision. And I was like, well, you know what? I'll make like a bunny. Because if I'm drawing a bunny, he just has like a triangle nose, like a pink triangle nose, and he will always have that nose anytime I'm drawing him, whenever. So I drew him out. I drew the first drawing of Rennie, and which I could actually send to you if you wanted to put up.
Yeah, go ahead.
And after that point, things started to progress as time went on, and I started first I gave up on the game completely, because I was like, oh, making a game is actually really intense, and I don't go here, but I do draw. So, and making a comic or a manga is probably much easier for me at my current point with my skills than making a video game. So I just went from there, and then that's where kind of the animal sort of thing really stemmed from.
Okay.
They're just fun to draw. They're just and also it was like, it's different. You know what I mean? Especially compared to, the different artists, with the different mangas and all the people. Not to say they're bad by any means, but it's like making them animals. It's like, oh, that's different. That's weird. They're very distinct, especially Rennie. Rennie is a distinct looking fella, right? So, and I love that. I love a character that is a bit weird looking. You know, Rennie's a bit weird looking.
I love him.
really like
Yeah,
that.
I like him. Yeah. That's also
So that's kind of my mindset.
yeah. This is pretty amazing. And you know, for the video game, you said you dropped the idea, but yo, who knows, man? Maybe one day, because you have so much like you have so much work done now, so maybe who knows, man? Maybe you might do a game someday. You know, like find the right people, right
Oh
connections.
man,
Like who
yeah,
knows?
20 years.
Yeah.
Give me 20 years, and we'll get that game set up for everyone.
Yeah. Whether it's speak no evil or not, you got this. I like your inspiration for animals. So you said because it looked different, right? And it looked different, and you wanted to, how can I explain? Different and just the characters, right? It looked unique. Yeah, that's what I'm looking. Will look more unique, and it does. And also, it reminds me of you. It reminds me of those like gritty animal, like those grittier animal like shows or series or movies, like you know, like Fritz. Have you ever heard of like the movie Fritz the Cat?
Yeah, Fritz the cat.
Yeah. So I won't say it,
Absolutely.
yeah. So it reminds me of this, not in the like themes, but more in the like they're animals, but they're more like human behavior and slightly gritty. Like right now your story is chill, but I feel like it's gonna be gritty. I'm not saying it's gonna be like Fritz the Cat, right? But I'm just saying like I feel like there's gonna be something like more serious or less like child tone, if it makes sense. So yeah, I just
yeah, I get you.
yeah, I don't know if it's like, I don't know if Fritz the Cat started that like realistic animal gritty thing, but I feel like I don't even know if you were inspired by it, but it reminds me like this in terms of like realistic, more human approach. Like is
Right.
there any
So,
yeah.
I do know a little bit of story because you know I have been interested. Like, what is kind of the history when it comes to drawing the animal characters? And it generally did actually start with comics.
It did,
and
yeah.
they were initially called funny animals.
Oh,
Right, they were called funny animals, and they were generally more comedic. I mean, think about what's it called? Oh, this is the point I did.
yeah,
to my
the
girlfriend.
yeah.
And as time went on, they're doing the same, the Donald Ducks and the Mickey Mouses and all
Yeah.
that. As time goes on, you start getting creators that want to do something different. They're like, okay, we're done with all the comedy and whatnot. What if we did something a bit more gritty, a bit more real, right? And that's when you get your Fritz the Cats, and I mean, there's a ton of series out there that will center around, animal characters or an animal character with other human characters, and it takes a much more sort of real,
Yeah.
gritty tone.
I guess there's also I didn't even watch it, but I guess BoJack Horseman, does it fit in this gritty tone?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
You could honestly put BoJack in there as well.
Okay.
And then recently, Beastars.
Yes,
Pretty
Beastars. Yeah.
one.
I can't believe I forgot. Funnily enough, like your work, of course, Beastars right now in like let's say in the manga scene, it might be like the most like known animal, like anthropomorphic animal, like, and it's also dark and gritty. But I don't like, when I see your work. Yeah, at first I was like, oh, like Beastars, but when I see your work, it's like, yeah, it's dark as well and stuff. But I don't see it doesn't remind me of it anymore. You know what I mean? It's like your work is very unique. To me, it stands out. I don't see like, oh, it reminds me of this scene, or it reminds me of Beastar. This scene reminds me of this, or even I said Frizz the Cat, but it was just more in like the realistic animal scene. So I find it interesting that I find it cool that you were able to you're able to stand out and find that uniqueness. So my question is like, your let's say your team, your manga team and everything, it's pretty unique, but also there's Beastars, for example. So how do you, when you see his work and your work or anything similar, right? How do you, in your head or in your process, how do you like keep your work unique? You know what I mean? Like deviate, or whether you look at Beastars or not, like how do you do personally?
I have a lot of inspiration from various things. So I think the way I'll go about it is, I know that there's a lot that goes into what I will make with Speak No Evil. It's not just B stars, or it's not even a lot of B stars.
Yeah, there's not at all. Yeah.
It's various, movies, TV shows, and then some manga, and then some anime, music, a lot of different things that will sort of go into how I'm gonna go about drawing or writing Speak No Evil. And ultimately, Speak No Evil for me is just what I think would be cool, or what I want to tell.
Yeah.
And it really just ends at that. And to me personally, I'm like, yeah, that'll be cool. Like, I know for a fact there'll be at least like 3 guys out there that'll see what I'm doing and be like, yeah, okay, that's cool. And that's it. That's honestly all it needs to be for me. And that's really where it ends.
Yeah.
I'm not super people pleasy, I suppose, with my
mindset. I'm the same.
I'm like,
I'm the same. Yeah, and I am one of the 3, by the way, just letting you know. But right now I'm looking at your work, and I'm actually impressed, like how you did the wood, like you're doing the kinetic lines, like that's actually clever. I've never thought of it, like doing the kinetic line and then you put it like more pale-ish, and you add those white lines. And
I feel like that because I have had a whole journey with figuring out how to get that effect, because you can see that effect used in Chainsaw Man. You can see that effect used in Dandadan. And I love it. I love that effect. I love the texture it will give to the backgrounds. And they use it a lot. So for the longest time, I've been figuring out, because to be honest, the resources out there for digital manga creation is pretty slim, especially for background work. Anytime I'm trying to go to research how to go about background work, I feel like 9 times out of 10 it will be about taking an image, putting filters on it, and then going with that. And I'm like, but I don't like that. I don't like how that looks. So I've had to figure out the strategy, and I'll explain it the best I can right now. So if anyone out there is making their stuff and they want to do the Chainsaw Man Dandadan thing too, here's how you can do it. You get the streamline like you just saw. You'll apply the textured pen brush stroke over the lines, because you can change what the line consistency looks like on your streamline. You'll put it to that. It'll vary what pen size you'll want to put based off the panel. There's no set way you would do it, but for this one, and this was a pretty big panel, so for this one I made the brush size 2. I got rid of grouping. I made the gap in between the lines smaller, and then once all of that was done, I turned on the ruler for the perspective that I used on that specific panel, and I took the textured pen. I turned on the erase function that you can turn on with the pen, and I just put a bunch of lines through it, randomly. There's no real way to do it. Just put a bunch of lines through it. Went to the what is that pen called? Went to the hatching pattern brush that Clip gives you. Turned that onto erase as well, and just sort of pepper. You can see it right here. Just peppered in some more disruption, I guess I would say, into it, and it gets that look. And that was how I figured it out. And it took me, it was such a journey. There were multiple points where I was like, I give up. I'm just never gonna be able to emulate that look. I just got to move on. But then I was able to figure it out. Okay, that looks the best I've ever gotten it to look. That must be how they do it. Especially since I know that those authors, the Chainsaw Man and Dandadan authors, they work. Well, Dandadan is traditional and digital, but
both.
Fujimoto is 100% digital, and he uses Clip Studio, because I've seen the little speed paints he's done. He's working in Clip Studio, so it's like, I know you're using Clip Studio, so there's something I'm missing here, and I think I may have found it. So if you want to emulate that style, anyone out there, that is how I did it. That is how I got it to look the closest I could possibly get it.
Let's go. Yeah, I also like texture, and you're also right. It's pretty dim. Even there's Clip Studio Paint. There's those assets, but you have to dig, man. You have to dig to find some good ones, and even then,
You have to really make your own thing. All of the
Mhm.
assets in Clip, they'll help you, but if you really want to get it, you're just gonna have to figure it out, man.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like, we should have, like, it would be a good idea someday, but we should definitely do like more accessible assets and everything. And that's the thing too. Like, some assets are good, but they're not really customizable. So it's kind of dependent of which one. But some can be hard to play around with. Like, you really got to dig and find the good ones. And even so, like, it shouldn't be that hard to begin with to find like some good assets for manga making, right? Because I know that Clip Studio is mostly like, there's more assets for illustration, but still, man, we should definitely, like, I feel like we should do our own assets or something and just put them there or make them more accessible. But it's digital manga is getting more and more, like, the process of creating digital manga, right, is getting more and more accessible. So hopefully in the future we get more like access to a good assets and more customizations options. But so far Clip Studio is very good. Like, how do you feel about Clip Studio in general when you draw?
It's perfect. I've been using Clip for about as long as I have been drawing, and it's given me everything I could have wanted, and whatever I wanted that I thought Clip didn't have, it did, and I just wasn't looking in the right places. So Clip is super good.
Yeah, it is. Also, I was gonna ask something, I think about the, oh yeah, earlier I saw you put some, the last panel I saw you like add some like white over the characters. What were you trying to do? Oh, it's over. Damn. What were you trying to do?
This is the end.
Yeah.
White over the characters. You mean when I was erasing them?
Oh, you were erasing them. Okay.
Yeah, I was erasing that file from the smaller version that I brought in, because then I just took the background and made it monochromatic and then just cleaned it up and used that background. That's what I was doing.
Oh, okay. I'll see. So the page is over. Let me see if we can see the full page.
Yeah, that was a whole page.
Yeah, I just want to show the people.
First page of chapter 8.
Yeah, when I saw like when I saw chapter when I saw reading chapter 8, I was like, oh damn, it's the next chapter. Amazing. I can't wait. I can't believe I'm seeing chapter 8 right now, guys. So you're witnessing history right now. So yeah. So do you have any, well, I was gonna ask you a question. So yeah, what are your, let's say, what are your like tips or advice for anyone either starting manga or just doing like comics, manga, whatever, right, drawing in general, and wants to do his own work, right? Do you have any like advice or commentary or things you wish you knew before doing any of it?
I mean, this piece of advice has never stopped being the best one, and it's just to start right now. There's never gonna be a perfect moment. You're not gonna make the best one you could right now, and maybe you'll never make the best one you can, because you're just gonna keep evolving. The next one you make is gonna be better, and then the next one will be better, and then the next one will be better. So you really just need to do it, figure it out. It's gonna be rough. There's gonna be some hard points. There's gonna be some times where you're trying to do something and you're spending hours and hours and hours trying to figure it out, and maybe you never fully like it, or maybe you find out that there was a much easier way to do it that would have taken less time. But you know what? It's all a part of the process, and everyone has gone through the exact thing that you're going through, even the greats.
Yeah.
Even the absolute greats, they were all going through these exact same. There's a video of of the author of Vagabond and Slam Dunk going through the process of making a page for Vagabond, and he is struggling. And I remember watching that video for the first time while I was going through, I want to say chapter 2 or 3, and the cathartic feeling I felt seeing him struggle. I was like, oh, even he is having the hardest time. And even once he finished that page and got it sent out, and it looked incredible, it looked beautiful, and it got sent out, and he was asked like, how you feeling, man? And he was like, not good. So you're gonna struggle, you're gonna have a hard time, but when all is said and done and you're looking at everything that you have made so far, you will be so happy with yourself.
Yeah.
You'll be immensely happy with yourself, and you know, karma smiles nicely on those who just don't give up. Just keep going.
Exactly. Like,
You'll be able to do it.
if like the creator of Slam Dunk and Vagabond, you know, if Inoue Takehiko himself feels this about his work, I feel like
The man
we should
who single-handedly brought basketball to Japan.
Exactly.
Okay, if he's having a tough time, hey man, we're all just going through the struggles.
Yeah, exactly. So keep
But
improving.
we'll come out on the other side.
Exactly. And I have one final question for you. So, what do you think your legacy as a mangaka will be? Like, what kind of impact do you have, or do you hope your work leaves on future generations of artists and readers?
I have all of my stocks in Speak No Evil. I mean, like I said, I plan for this story to be like a long story, and so I think that will ultimately be like the magnum opus. Even if there are points in the future, maybe I'll put it on pause, maybe another project will
Who knows?
will take up my time or whatnot. I'll come back to Speak No Evil and I will finish it, and it will be like the thing I made. And I mean, ultimately, in terms of what I would want people's takeaway to be from the story, is just that it's really cool.
Yeah, it
it's
is.
like, oh man, what a cool ass series. And if millions of people in the world think of Speak No Evil and they're like, oh, that series is cool as hell, I did it. I achieved my goal.
Oh, it will. It definitely will. Definitely will. Like, I'm putting all my chips on that, and it definitely will, man. So thank you very much, Nairda. So Nairda is part of the Manga Punk magazine. By the time of recording this video, it's up for pre-order, so make sure to get a copy. You'll see the first chapter of Nairda's Speak No Evil and also some other great, amazing works. And yeah, is there anything else you want to say before we go?
I mean, hey, thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy to be a part of the group with you and everyone else.
Yes.
I feel it motivates me a lot. Actually,
Yeah.
It's super motivating to be around people who are also really working hard to just make the thing that they believe in. And I really feel like, with that energy, you feel unstoppable.
Yeah.
It feels like nothing can get in your way. So
Yeah.
just super grateful to be a part of this. And yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
I can tell that you're motivated. I can tell that you're serious about it. You really sound like a passionate person too. So, and also you sound like a really smart person too, which is cool. So yeah, we got more. We're definitely gonna do more things together, man. Like I said, like I already told you about my ideas, so we're definitely gonna do more. Oh, by the way, it was Amai Kobashi talking to Nairda, so author of what's the name? Damn, Excelsior. I had another manga in my head, but of Excelsior Warriors of the Universe. So make sure to check this work. So it's also part of the Manga Punk magazine. So keep it up. Let's keep it up, guys, and stay tuned for another video. So peace.